Hello guys, welcome to this painting tutorial. For this video I decided to paint a Space Wolf Space Marine for Warhammer 40k. This is the way the miniature is going to turn out when you finish. If you like this video, please like it, comment and subscribe to the channel to see more, and I hope you like this video. I'm going to start by priming the miniature with Rust-Oleum automotive-grade primer. And the first step is going to be to base coat the whole armor with the fang. I'm using a monster brush from Army Painter, which is in fact a very good brush. I liked it a lot for base coating. It doesn't hold a very fine tip to paint details, but it's very good for painting base coats. In this step I'm just using the paint watered down 1:1 to base coat all of the armor area. It's really not very difficult. And about the primer, you can use any primer you want. I would recommend you use a primer that is light, like gray or white, so that you can lay the colors easily on top of them. And if you can find a color primer that is similar to the fang, that'll be a good idea too. Next, I'm going to use Bugman's Glow to paint the face of the model. Many Space Marines won't have flesh, but this one has, so I had to paint it with this color. Next, Leadbelcher. With this color I'm going to paint all of the silver details, which is the bolt gun, the chainsword, and details here and there that you want to paint silver. This is a good base coat for them. Also, to thin down metallics, it is a good idea to use some acrylic medium and not just water, because water disperses a lot more the metallic flakes of the paint, so I would recommend that. Next, I will use Vallejo Model Color Black, and with this color I'm going to paint the weapons and any other details that you would like to be black. You can use Averland Black from the Citadel range, but I like this color better, so it's just a personal preference. The Vallejo Model Color Black is a lot more matte than the shiny Averland Black. Next, I will use XV88. This color I'm going to use it to paint the hair, and also some straps here and there where the bones are strapped to the bolt gun and stuff like that. These are supposed to be space Vikings, so I painted him blonde. Next, I will use Averland Sunset, and with this color I'm going to paint the shoulder pad and details here and there where you want to be yellow. It is important to thin down well the yellows and not move them around while they're drying, or you'll create brush strokes. Next, I will use Rakarth Flesh, and with this I'm going to paint the bone. I decided to go for this color because I wanted a very light bone. But if you want a more bone-colored bone, you can use Sandry Dust, then Ushapti Bone, then Screaming Skull, and that's a very nice color selection too. Next, I will use Baltasar Gold, and with this color I'm going to base coat all of the gold details that you would like to paint on your model. Again, metallic paints are better thinned down with thinning mediums, acrylic mediums. So you can use thinning medium from Vallejo or any other sort that you have. It's a better idea to use that instead of water. Next, I'm going to use Dryad Bark, and with that color I'm going to paint the wolf pelt that some of these miniatures have on their armor. Now that all of the base coats are done, I'm going to use Drakenhoff Nightshade. With that color I'm going to shade in most of the armor. Don't worry if some silver details or gold details get in the way. Just try to shade in the most of the armor. Just try to evade the yellows, because you'll turn them green if you paint them with this color. So be very careful with the yellows and don't hit the skin either. Next, I'm going to use Nuln oil, that color is going to be used on the silvers, which is the weapons, and that's it. You could use Agrax Earthshade for the bone, but I used my Reikland Flesh Shade for all of the gold, the skin, the hair, and the bone. And then once that's dry, we can use Russ Grey to clean up all of the armor area. This is going to be a little bit time-consuming step because we have to clean up all of the armor. Although I do this all the time with my Chaos Space Marines, so it's not very different. It's just very important that you thin down the paint well, because we don't want to have any sort of brushstrokes or marks, because the paint is really dry and you're just moving it around while it's drying. So just try to keep the paint watered down and start applying it all over the armor. If one coat is not enough, you can give a second coat. It's always a good idea to give a second coat, and don't work with very thick paint. Here you can see, because it took a little while to paint all of the armor, and I didn't want you to just have a little bit short clip of the painting. I wanted you to see that painting on the underside and the above the upper body. Sometimes just one coat is not enough, but this is how the miniature should be looking by this step. Next, I'm going to use Fenrisian Grey to highlight the armor, but because we want to keep it simple, I'm going to use an insane detail brush and some drying retarder to edge highlight all of the edges of the model, and that's going to be all of the steps for the armor. The drying retarder helps a lot when edge highlighting, because the very small surface area of the detail brush makes the paint dry really fast. So if you have some sort of drying retarder, flow improver, or some sort of medium that you can use to prolong the life of your paint, it's gonna help you a lot. It's gonna make it a lot easier. So here we're just trying to hit the edges and the parts that are directly exposed to the top hit of the light. And that's it. Once that's done, I'm going to highlight the yellow with Yriel Yellow. With this color, I'm going to paint most of the yellow area, leaving just the deepest recesses, and that's just the bottom part. Leave it looking a little bit sepia, or like with the flesh wash. And then I'm going to edge highlight with Flash Kits Yellow. It's a very quick step because it only has one edge, and that's pretty much it. Next, Eshin Grey, and with this color I'm going to edge highlight the black. When I paint my tabletop miniatures, I don't usually highlight the black. I just do it here to show you that you can do that and it looks better, but you don't really have to if you don't want to. Next, Dawnstone, to further edge highlight the black. Just use it on the parts that are most exposed to the light, so just the edges and the corners of the black parts. Next, I will highlight the skin with Cadian Fleshtone. and it's going to go all over the skin, just leaving the deepest recesses on the previous color. It's a very easy step. Just try to avoid the eyes and deepest recesses on the skin. Then I'm going to use Kislev Flesh, and I'm going to highlight the same areas just towards the places that hit the most light, and just leave a little bit of the Cadian Fleshtone showing from the previous step. Next, I will use Screaming Skull, and this is going to be the brightest highlight on the skin. Just try to put it on the very tip of the nose and places that are on the very edges of the highlights, and that's it. Next, to highlight the blonde hair, I'm going to use Tau Light Ochre. This color is going to go as a highlight for all of the hair, just leaving a little bit of the previous color on the recesses as well. And to edge highlight the hair, I'm going to use Ungor Flesh. It's not really an edge highlight. On the top of the head is going to be Ungor Flesh, but in the mustache and on the little things on the side of his head, I'm just going to touch the edges. Next, Palid Witch Flesh is the first highlight for the bone. I'm going to try and paint all of the bone parts, just leaving the recesses on the washed color, but painting most of the bone area with this Palid Witch Flesh. To finish it off, I'm going to use White Scar, and that's going to go on the very top parts where the light hits, to make it a really pallid looking bone. Next, I'm going to use Iron Breaker. This is going to be a highlight for the silver parts. It's a very simple step. I'm not really dry brushing or edge highlighting. I'm just touching the parts that are exposed to light, and that's pretty much it. Next, I'm going to use Gehena's Gold as the first highlight for the gold, and this is going to be like an overbrush for the details like the skulls, but it's going to be like a cleanup step for the rest of the gold areas which have no detail, like the details on the backpack there. You can see I painted most of the area with the Gehena's Gold. And finally, I'm going to use Auric Armor Gold to paint the very toppest parts where light reflects from the gold details. Next, I'm going to use XV88 to kinda overbrush the bottom part of the fur. You can use it on the edges of your wolf belts if you have a different sort of wolf belt that is bigger. Just use it on the edges and overbrush it. And then I'm going to dry brush it with Screaming Skull. And that's it. That is the finished model. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I really enjoyed painting this model, and it took a little while because it has many details, but I tried to keep it simple. So if you like this tutorial, please give it a like, a thumbs up, comment on it, and subscribe to the channel to see more videos. Please leave me a comment to let me know what you would like to see next, and you can follow me on Facebook if you would like to know what I'm doing. I post there what I'm going to release next, and sometimes I just post random stuff. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video was helpful and informative, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching.